What up guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, part 4, we're going to be talking about how to build a event, some kind of event that you can invite people to, you know, your new high vibration tribe, I guess is what we can call it at this point, to go on some kind of like dream trip, some dream travel destination. In the previous videos, if you haven't watched those, because this is a series, I've gone over how to actually find this tribe, how to become someone that people want to hang out with, and how to like build and strengthen those relationships over time to the point where eventually you actually do get to go on that trip. This video is going to be breaking down everything that I've done to do this, you know, multiple times in locations around the world, whether it's Bali, I've done a couple times, or even places around Australia when I was down there, to Morocco. In the US, like California, which obviously I live here now, but I used to live on the East Coast, to Miami, even smaller trips like around that you can just drive to. These trips are really great ways to build deeper and deeper connections with people and to really like solidify that you are this new person that has a dope group of friends that you know, you get value from, that they get value from you, and it's just this upward spiral of like happiness and creativity. So what do? Well, the first thing that you want to do is actually decide like where's a place that you dream of going, and really like don't limit anything in your own mind. Like if it's Indonesia, if it is India, if it's Hawaii, like wherever it is, literally just pick it, choose it, actually define that place. The next thing I'd highly recommend doing is going on Pinterest, and if you have an iPhone, you can even download the Pinterest widget and like just start saving locations or places, like images of that place. So for example, before I went to Hawaii, I had like a whole Pinterest board of places I wanted to visit in Hawaii and like the type of pictures I even wanted to take while I was there, and this just made it a lot more real in my mind. And obviously, as the saying goes, if you can hold an image in your mind, you can then hold it in your hand. Hold that image of that place in your mind, and that will help you to materialize that thing. And Pinterest is a great way to do that. Now, the next thing I'd recommend doing is actually thinking about like what it would look like logistically, you know, like what kind of event this would actually be. But I think probably one of the biggest problems that people run into when they think about logistics of an event like this is they fall forward, okay? And they think, you know, they really think in terms of like limited resources and limited thinking patterns, which doesn't really make for a fun trip at all. So what I'd recommend doing, okay, so for example, most people, when, you know, they think about doing something like going to Hawaii, right? Or even like Bali, right? Let's take Bali. They might think like, okay, well, if I'm going to go to Bali, I'll probably want to stay at a hotel in like Seminyak, which is like the popular place that people go to. It sounds relatively affordable. Maybe I'll go with a friend or two, maybe someone that I know like best, and, you know, maybe spend a week there. And, you know, I don't know, what's my budget? Like look at my bank account. Okay, cool. So I could probably spend, you know, I could probably spend like $1,200 on this trip. Any more is really pushing it. And it'll be fun, you know, maybe for transportation, probably just do, I don't know, do they have Uber there? I don't really know, right? So it's this very limited thinking mindset. Instead, ask, how can I ask for something unreasonably greater than what most people do? This is the 80-20 rule in action. Now, because most people aren't thinking unreasonably, it's actually easier to get this thing. It's not harder, it's actually easier. So what would be like a dream Bali vacation? Well, what if I stayed in like a 5-star Bali resort that was, you know, a lot more expensive, even though relatively Bali is not that expensive? What if instead of, you know, paying, I somehow got to stay there for free? What if instead of you know, taking Ubers around, we rented mopeds and rode mopeds everywhere? What if instead of, you know, flying on a regular airplane to get there, it's on a private jet, and there's like private champagne service on the private jet? What if instead of just hanging out for the week and doing the normal like monkey force, whatever, there's like a yacht, or maybe there's like a surf tour or whatever, right? So now I'm thinking like unreasonably more, and by doing less or spending less, right? So let's say on this trip I actually want to make money. Well, how could you actually make anything like that happen? It sounds completely unreasonable. Well, you're thinking outside the box now, okay? So at least what I did is I thought, okay, well, what if I make this Bali trip kind of like a trip for my clothing brand? Because at the time I was really focused on building 8 a.m., my clothing brand. And what if I could also kind of make it something for, you know, my other friends who I brought, or who I went with, who also had like a swim line that they were working on, and they were also making YouTube videos. So I was like, okay, well, this trip could actually turn into a really big like thing for all of our channels. We could experience a lot of growth. We could sell a lot of clothing, and one of my friends was doing bathing suits. And like, instead of it becoming this like, okay, spend a week in Seminyak and like chill with your friends, it's like, this is like a whole operation. This is like a creative thing that now everything is for content, and everything is actually, you know, even more fun because you're creating out of it and even making money. So see, you know, you want to start thinking way outside the box. And also keep in mind too that when you bring influencers into something like this, you're able to find like places and things and you know, places to stay that actually accommodate for influencers for free. So that's what I did. My Bali trip ended up being essentially completely free. I made money on it because of the t-shirts that I sold, or I at least broke even. I don't remember exactly. And I also grew my channel, and my friends grew their channel as well. So it ended up being this like really amazing experience because like instead of just this like little, you know, could have been, you know, me and maybe like 1 or 2 friends, it was like me and 4, 5, 6 friends. And we ended up making a lot of friends along the way. And it became something that was like it was like a growth activity rather than like a sunk cost activity. So that was huge. Now, the next thing I'd recommend, you know, but as you start to kind of envision this and ask yourself these questions, is you're going to want to make a spreadsheet, and on that spreadsheet have links to all of the different places that you want to actually go to and visit, or potential hotels that you could stay at, or potential Airbnbs that you could stay at, and just like have this growing and expanding spreadsheet. And like, I think one of the biggest things that people mess up is they don't consider enough options. They'll maybe look at like the top 3 or 4 hotels, or like the top 3 or 4 Airbnbs. Before I do a trip, I'll make a spreadsheet with like 50 to 100 potential places I could stay. Airbnbs, hotels, friends' houses. And so I just have an abundance of options, right? It's kind of like, you know, if let's just say you're a Victoria's Secret model. Well, you just have countless opportunities being put on your plate every single day, right? So in life, you know, I like to think of myself as a Victoria's Secret model a little bit, right? Where I'm just like, well, why not just realize that there's an abundance of options? Why limit myself to 3 or 4 hotels when I can have 150 hotels that I can look at, or Airbnbs, right? And then this allows you to come from a place of power and even negotiation power. So like, you could reach out to every single one of these hotels and say, hey, I've got, you know, 5 of my friends who all make videos, or they're all influencers. We have a collective reach of like 1 million people. And so we're wondering if we could get, you know, 1 to 4 nights stay in exchange for a picture or post a day. And this has usually been something that is really receptive for a lot of people. Now, keep in mind too, you don't even have to be an influencer to get this kind of benefit. You could just be the person organizing the trip and doing all the work for your friends. And you don't even need a following. You can just be like, yeah, my friends have these followings. You know, if they do a post a day, can we stay here? You can be the person in the friend group to organize all of this stuff and show the actual cost breakdown of everything. It takes a lot of like decision-making stress out of your friends' heads. And like, you know, for example, you show an amazing trip to Bali that like, you know, previously they might have thought like the original example of just like staying around a hotel, and then you're like, oh, look at all these amazing activities we can do. And it's only going to cost, you know, $700, like including flights, and we're probably going to make money because you can do this thing for your swim line. I'm going to do this thing for my clothing brand. We're going to get content together. Like, we're probably going to make money on this trip. So how can they say no? So those are my tips for like arranging and actually committing to and doing a bigger event like that. I recommend doing, you know, one of these a month, at least one big one every quarter. And, you know, this can be something that really, again, strengthens your relationships over time with people, but also creates FOMO, like, right? Like when you're posting your, your Hawaii hammock pictures and you're, with all these new friends, right? Like everyone else is going to want to hop on board and come on the next trip you do. So all it really takes is one of these trips, and then you kind of become known as this person that does really fun stuff like that. And the next time you invite someone, they're going to be a lot more receptive to actually going. That's how I did it in Bali. That's how I've done it in Hawaii. That's how I've done it everywhere I've really gone. So I hope that helps, and I hope that you got a lot of value out of this video. There's still one more in the series. If you like this series, drop a thumbs up and some comments below. Let me know if you have any other questions. Lastly, of course, if you would like me to build you a tribe of your own, high vibe tribe, if you want help with this, then go to my Instagram at Arlin Moore and DM me the word tribe, and I will get back to you with a link to sign up for a 30-minute call with me and my team, and we're gonna actually give you a recipe to make this happen. So that's it. Hope that you have enjoyed, and I will speak to you or see you in the next video.